What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting Illustrator Creative Challenge. Today we're going to talk about foundations, and I'm going to show you some hidden tools inside the appearance panel in order to create textures. And those are textures that are available for everybody by default inside the swatches library of our lovely Adobe Illustrator. So I hope you're excited to jump into the starter file so you can either work with me right now during this live stream, or you can simply sit back, relax, maybe grab a cup of coffee yourself, and then you can do it in your own time. So don't forget to say hi in the chat and to ask your questions. We have 30 minutes together. Use this time to ask your questions. I'm always here looking at the chat. In fact, I'm gonna start to say hello and welcome to all of you joining live during Behance and on YouTube, but also what's up to everybody that is watching this in the future from the replay. So I'm going to jump into Illustrator real quick. Don't forget that you can download the starter file just below me. Let me see if you guys can hear me and can see me okay. Yeah, looks like everything is fine. Perfect. So let's jump into my computer real quick. And in the meantime, I can see Garrett Williams in the chat, Patrick, Anki. I always miss the AI when they were apart. Well, here we are every day for 2 weeks together. Jacqueline, welcome here. Clever, Carol, Stony, Frank, Cody Bear in the chat helping us out. Jamie and Steve, lovely to see you. So don't forget to tell me where are you watching from, and if you have used textures before, or if you have had trouble using textures before in Illustrator, let me know in the chat. If you have any other questions, I will keep looking over the chat. Jack, lovely to see you here. Bad RB, what's up? So many familiar faces. Linda, hello everybody here joining live. So for those of you who are just jumping in, maybe with a few minutes late, just a big reminder, I'm your host, Kladi. I'm going to be with you with the Illustrator challenges. We're going to tackle different part and way of using Illustrator to satisfy your illustration, brand, marketing, and of course the foundation of this amazing app. And in order to follow along with me, all you have to do is to click on the link which is below the description, both on Behance and on YouTube, and you will have access to the file that you're looking at just right there behind me. This is a very simple graphic that I've created just to explore the textures. So you can actually use these textures, tips, and these techniques that I'm going to be showing you with anything, and there are so many applications. And of course, feel free to use the chat to ask me if you have any specific application with textures, but it can also be to create some product mockup, or maybe you're creating an illustration and you want to give the idea of using mixed media, so you want to add a different look and feel. Okay, so today I'm going to start with 3 different techniques. We're going to talk about the appearance panel and the swatch libraries. So those are the default textures in Illustrator. Then we're going to talk about Adobe Stock and how to use images and layer images in order to give textures to your image. And third, not least, but is the amazing 3D panel that will allow you to add textures thanks to the amazing materials. So those are the 3 techniques that I will highlight today that will give you the foundation on how to implement textures inside your vector graphics. As usual, when I give you a started file, you will find the layers panel. And for those of you who are just starting in Illustrator, don't forget that if you do not see the layers panel inside your workspace, you can always find it here under the window menu where all the panels that belong to Illustrator live. You can click on it. They're in alphabetical order. Simply click the one that I mentioned, or maybe you see me using on the screen. In this case, today I can give you an heads up. We're using layers, and also we're using appearance, and we're going to use the transform panel and the 3D and materials panel. So those are the panels that we're going to be focusing on today. And of course, CC libraries as well, because I mentioned stock. We have 30 minutes, maybe 20 now. Time goes way too fast when we're having fun here. Question from YouTube. Can you use the technique to create texture for 3D assets? Yes, we're going to be talking about the implementation of 3D as well. This is my technique number 3. We have Serkan Gul from Turkey. Thank you so much for joining us. Gareth from Leeds. What's up? Then we have Patrick from Switzerland. And let's see if they can see Michigan, northern Michigan in the house. San Diego, Jason, I'm so jealous. I actually see your messages. Jacqueline from Florida. I love San Diego. I usually hang around San Francisco and San Jose, but San Diego is a big dream of mine. I'll hope to come and visit soon. Okay, so let's get going. As you can see here, we have 3 layers. The first one is called hide, just because, as the words say, we're gonna hide it, because that's just a label. It tells us that we are on challenge number 2, and we're gonna go ahead and toggle the visibility off in order to hide it. If you wanna edit it, if you wanna move it, all you have to do is to simply click on the little lock icon, and you can get rid of it, move it, edit it, whatever you want. In this case, I'm just gonna keep it there and simply hide it. Here on these little layers where we can have a play with textures, and here we have the design. The design which consists of the little eyes, the little nose, and of course the background. Now you can either work, and we're going to be working on both the design layer and the textures layer, because we're going to be experimenting with different techniques. If you want to edit or change or personalize this design, and perhaps you're struggling to click on the little eyes, maybe you want to change the colors, feel free to do so. All you have to do is, again, to unlock the layer to make sure to personalize it and have access to it and being able to edit it. But let's move into the first technique, accessing the default textures library, which is hidden inside Illustrator. And this is such a hit because so many people need textures and they don't even know where to start with it. So I'm going to show you how you can access them. So something else that I want to show you is how to apply multiple fills. So in this case, we already have a fill, which is simple, a rectangle shape, which is sitting behind our little eyes, is pretty much the little skinny of this tiger, skin of the tiger, of the cat, or whatever you prefer, that is here. And we want to add a pattern. How do we do that? Majority of people will copy and then perhaps Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, or simply using the Alt Option key to duplicate. Let me go on. To duplicate the rectangle, then give it another color, and then try to find a way perhaps to, maybe create the textures. Well, no, we're using only one shape. We're learning right away how to work faster and smarter. This is simply one single rectangle, but we're gonna go ahead and open, as I mentioned before, the appearance panel, which is your ally when starting to styling and giving appearance to your object and graphics inside Illustrator, because it will allow you to do many things, including applying multiple strokes and multiple fill to the same object. As you can see here, we have the first fill, which is the color orange, and if you wish to do so, you can also change the color. But most importantly, here at the bottom of the appearance panel, we have a button that is called Add New Fill. By clicking on the Add New Fill button, you will be able to add as many fills as you want, and that will allow you to layer different fills. So for example, let's say that I want to do a mix between this red and the orange. I can also use my opacity and then multiply these two colors, or lighten the orange, or use the blend modes to really create different effects, and perhaps mix these two colors. You can also here use that little eye icon to toggle the visibility of this specific layer. But what if we want to do, and we're gonna go a little bit the extra miles with this layer, instead of, so first of all, let's bring it back to view and make sure that the blend mode is set to normal, which is the default. What if here, this is the place where we want to add a different textures, maybe a pattern? What we can do, as I mentioned, is to go ahead and access the swatches panel directly inside the fill. So we're already inside the appearance panel. What I've done, I click on this little down pointing arrow that is next to the swatch color that is part of the second fill applied to our shape. And here we have the first icon where it looks like we have a little books next to each other. This is the library. This is the little swatches library that is default inside Illustrator. And here you have many different color palettes and color libraries accessible and organized for you. So we have earth tones, we have foods, gradients, kid stuff, metal, nature, so on and so forth. The one that we're looking for is the one called patterns. So remember, swatches appearance panel, create a new fill, click on a down pointing arrow, library little icon. From the library icon, patterns, basic graphics and texture graphics. And I'm going to leave it there 1 second. This is the time to take a screenshot so you know where the path is to go back in order to find the basic graphic textures. And as you can see, once you click on it, a new panel will open up. In this case, we have the basic graphic textures. I've organized mine by list. Sometimes I have this question when things don't look alike inside our screens. All you have to do is to check the options of the panel. Here we have this little flyout burger menu. Click on it and you will be able to change the view. So for example, you can have a large thumbnail view. And here you have the preview of the different patterns that you can apply. Another reason why people miss these patterns is because they tend to use it on a large surfaces. And those patterns by default are so tiny that you kind of start to miss them. So what people have to do is then trying to resize the shape, to resize the pattern, and maybe the pattern get distorted and you don't really get to experience it inside the shape in the way that you like, and it starts to become a little bit complex. And that's another reason why people start to overlay a rectangle, then another rectangle, then they make the one on top bigger, and then everything is messy. Well, here we're learning right away how to work in a professional, nice, neat, clean way, so we can stay organized and we can move fast while we design. Now, once you have created your pattern, we can go back and change these at any time. But I want to show you how to scale it without having to scale the shape. And this is another hidden trick that not many people know to do, and everybody usually gets quite surprised by this little function here. So don't forget to first of all select the shape and then go ahead and click on the flyout burger menu and make sure to select transform patterns only. By doing so, you will change and you will affect with your transformation only the pattern. Of course, you can go ahead and choose to transform only the object. In that case, the object will be scaled or edited and the pattern will remain the same. Otherwise, you can transform both, and in that case, if you scale a larger shape, we'll have a larger pattern, and a smaller shape will have a smaller pattern. But we want to keep the same shape and just focus on the pattern. So therefore, we'll select transform pattern only. And here we'll do another quick trick. We'll let Illustrator do the math for us. So here we have a size of 1080 by 1920, which is the size of our rectangle. But what if we want this pattern, these textures to be 5 times bigger? Well, all we have to do is to use the exclamation mark. The asterisk, not the exclamation mark. We do a little asterisk next to a size. We want to make sure that we have our little link to constrain proportion with height and width selected, so it will be a proportional, it will be scaled proportionally. And in this case, I'm gonna input the number 5. So remember, whatever is the size, by, which is the little asterisk, and then whatever time you want to scale it to. In this case, I'm going to scale it to 5. Whenever you're done, whenever you want to see the result, so 1080 by 5, just simply press on enter return, and boom, Illustrator has done the math for you, has scaled the pattern without having to touch the image of exactly 5 times. What if I want to just scale it back a little to what it was originally? Well, you can divide by 5 and here it is back to the original. So literally that works with any field inside Illustrator. You can have Illustrator doing the math for you. Maybe you can just want it to multiply by 3. I think that is perhaps one of the most amazing tricks that you can use in all sort of stuff. Illustrator does the math for you. You can literally do calculation. All you have to do is to use the asterisk for a multiply and the little / to divide. Okay, once you're happy with your pattern now size, you can go ahead and explore the other patterns. Now bear in mind that if you click twice inside a pattern, it will automatically scale back. So this is like already multiply. If you scale twice, it go back to its original size. So you will have perhaps to scale it again. But we know how to do it. It's so fast and so quick. And also time goes so fast. I can't believe I want to show you so many things. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you like what I've showed you so far. Let me see if there is any other message in the chat. I can see that we have Pakistan in the house. We have Connecticut. Jalil is saying, nice to see. Mandewa, hello everybody. Hello, Clever. Clever is saying, Clever only with little jokes. Bacon cheeseburger menu. Now you're making me hungry. Perfect. So it looks like we have a couple of thumbs up in the chat. I want to know if you're like what I'm showing you so far. Okay, so this is the first technique. Now let's go back and let's simply hide this field, which is always there. So perhaps, you know, maybe we're working on a team, we're working with our client, and we want to show them a new way of adding texture. So as I said, first way was the default pattern textures that are inside the swatches panel. Done that. Second way, we're going to go ahead and use our wonderful libraries. I'm going to go ahead and create a new library. I'm going to call it texture test and click on create. Here in the library, you can also directly browse Adobe stock that will allow you to gain access to professional assets. So in here, I'm just going to type texture. Of course, if you have a more specific texture, you can go ahead. Maybe we can go ahead and do like a leopard print or something like that. Look how beautiful it is. We have this abstract holographic, and in this instance, you can go back and search as many as you want. You can also filter the result. In this case, what I will need are photos, but you can also access vector textures if you wish to do so. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and add just a couple of these, and then I'm also going to perhaps do a leopard print. And don't forget that this will need to be bought. Those assets, you need to buy them if you're looking to use them professionally for a final product. But if you're here experimenting for me, starting to get your hands inside Illustrator and look at how it works, this is the beauty of working with stock, that you have access to all these amazing assets and you have the chance to try them out and have a little play to get comfortable with them until you're ready to finally go ahead and choose one that you would like to purchase for your final project. So feel free for now just to use any of them just as a test. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the little design layer still to bring in one of these textures. In order to do so, simply click on it and then drag it inside your field, and then you can simply reposition it in your design. As you can see here, we have the Adobe watermark and also the little number of the assets, which is there, simply reminding us that was the assets, you know, that still is not being purchased. So I'm going to start to bring my my little layer at the back with the shortcut Shift Control left bracket, and I'm actually gonna layer that behind. That's actually quite cool. We have a space a space tiger cat here. But how do we apply and we transform this image inside the textures? By the way, if I went a little bit too fast to bring elements below or above, you can use the shortcut Shift Control and then the left bracket to send it back and the right bracket to send it on top. So what I've done here, I've literally brought this back at the very back with the Shift Control left bracket, and then also brought back the orange background. So now this is sitting on top of the orange background. And then all I'm left to do is from the properties panel is to go ahead and use the opacity in order to change the different blend modes. So we can actually apply the texture of the image with the different blend mode. Look how beautiful this little pretty pink silky cat is there. You can change not only the way that the top image and the image in the background overlap by creating this amazing effect that will result into a texture, but also if you know maybe something is a little bit too prominent, like in this case, you can use the opacity by dialing down this effect, so you can have something that looks a little bit more minimal. So this is the second way of introducing textures, and I'm going to do another quick one with the leopard print, because I think that looks quite cute. So we can go ahead and have the leopard print. We can click and drag it to reposition it, click and hold the corner of the bounding box while clicking on Shift in order to resize it, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to select that and the background and simply bring it to the back. Okay, so what I've done before, I think in this case, all we need to do is to go back to properties, opacity, and set it to multiply, just like that. It looks quite strong, so I'm just going to dial it down a little bit with the opacity. And here it is. We got our little leopard. Now, if you want to cut out all these parts of the images that are outside, you can always go into View and select Trim View. So you just simply cut out and everything looks a little bit more neat. And the tab will also allow you to make the menu, all the toolbar and the workspace disappear. So perhaps if you're with a client and you want to just make sure that everything looks nice and neat, View, Trim View, and then you can also hide all the panels here. Okay, now let's delete that and let's experiment with the 3D. We have just about 5 minutes to go. So for the 3D, that's another panel that you can find under the window menu. And if you select window, we'll see that at the very top we have the 3D and materials. This panel comes with the wonderful materials that are part of Substance. So it looks like I have hidden it somewhere here. Happens to me all the time that instead of activate, I start to deactivate them. So this amazing panel will allow you to transform your 3D art into 2D art. But also, besides that, so for example, let's make the nose pink and then let's inflate it just to have an idea of what the 3D does. And of course, you can change color, you can do whatever you want with it. But that's not what we're doing here today. What we're doing here is to learn how to apply materials in order to create the textures. So I'm going to go ahead and select my materials tab. You do not need to transform the object in 3D. And as you can see, we have a lot of different patterns, and for example we have this marble paint, which is quite cool. So this will automatically apply a texture that is based on a specific material, and of course you can change its attribute. For example, I think that marble paint was quite exciting for like a tiger effect, but the colors definitely do not match the right one. Well, if you scroll down under the properties panel, you can here then modify the properties of this specific material here. So we can go ahead and change all this color. Look at that, we have a little bit of a psychedelic cat. You can go ahead and change all these other colors, and I think that kind of start to resemble, maybe you can add a black to get a little bit more of a tiger effect. Let's change, let's see, I think this other one maybe to black as well, or a darker color. So as you can see, we can use also materials as a way to access textures inside Illustrator. Now, if you're wishing to find something a little bit more specific, maybe we can try to find a little leopard effect, because here in the 3D panel, you can access to these amazing Substance 3D community assets. Those are free for you to experiment and to use. By clicking on the little icon, you have the website that will open up. And here you have the chance, let's see if we have any leopard. You can use the little print, and here it is. We have a leopard print. So all you have to do is to simply download it inside your machine. You will have to choose it where it goes. So let's go ahead and to put it in our Adobe Live Daily Creative Challenge here in Illustrator, and select Save. And then from here, once you open Illustrator, you can click on the plus icon, and from here select Add Materials. Go back into your library. Well, you'll be able to find, let's see here, just showing you all my libraries, everything that Kladi is up to lately. And we can go ahead and choose the leopard that we have just downloaded right now and select on open, and you will see that in just a few seconds it will load up inside your materials. So as you can see here, we have a difference between your materials, and here it is, the leopard just manifested here. And then we have the Adobe Substance. Those are the default ones, so you will not find the one that I have on top. Those are some that I was having a play with and I downloaded from the community. So go ahead and click on the leopard, and you will see that it gets applied to your shape. Another thing that you can do is to also change the repeat in order to scale it. So look at that, it looks like a little fluffy little tiger leopard fur. It also gives the idea of the fur, and perhaps in this case you can also expand your design and have a play by using this technique, also by implementing 3D maybe for the eyes if you wish to do so. Okay, so little recap, we have about 1 minute to go. We use the default textures inside the appearance panel by creating a new fill, applying a new fill to your shape, and by the way, it's still there. So if we take the 3D off from the appearance, we still have that available. Then we use the images from Adobe Stock, and we simply brought it in and dialed the opacity down and changed the blend mode to multiply or overlay. And then we use the 3D materials with the amazing Substance materials and the community assets that are there for you for free to use. Unfortunately, it is time to say goodbye, but don't forget to stay tuned here on Adobe Live. There is so much more fun coming up throughout the day. And of course, we're going to be back with more Illustrator challenges here. So we're going to have a new challenges coming up just right after me with James Bonanno in video work in Premiere and After Effects. So don't forget to stay tuned, and I look forward to see you tomorrow, everybody. But it's bye-bye for now. Thank you for joining me. Ciao!